I'm Ali Patterson. On this episode of Fintech Finance, we take a look at the world of digital transformation. For this, we headed over to Canada, to Ottawa and Toronto, to speak with iGTB, Scotiabank and Payments Canada. While in Ottawa, we caught up with Payments Canada to speak with Jan and Jerry to talk a little bit around some of the challenges and changes happening in the industry at the moment.
So I use a term that the society is moving into a one-click society. You know, your smartphone tells you where you parked your car. You can order new laundry detergent just by pressing a button attached to your washing machine. When you do your online shopping, you press one button, you ordered, you paid, and you also ask for delivery. So that's the new expectation for Canadians or people around the world, and the payments have to be part of it. So people want faster, they want easier, but at the same time safer. And the payments, they cannot stay behind. Me, from the technology perspective, I'm a true believer that digital technology is actually making the world a better place. And when you look at what technology can do, physical distance, for example, it's not such a big challenge anymore. So you can deliver services to people in an easier way. And while in Canada we don't have that many unbanked people or financially excluded individuals, distance is a problem in Canada. So I really feel that digital technology will make our lives better. And yes, let's go all digital. Cashless world, eventually it may happen. I think it's not going to happen during my lifetime, probably not even in the lifetime of my kids, because again, we also as a society have a lot of inertia. So getting rid of completely some of the existing payments methods like cash, because it's still bringing some convenience and there is not a full alternative in the digital world yet. So I think it's still gonna take some time. And there are also some other implications of removing cash completely from the economy. I know some of the Scandinavian countries, they are aiming quite high and they really want to make sure that the society moves into a more cashless environment, but I still feel it's a bit far away. With digital payments, it's not an issue, but when you think the non-digital world where people using paper payment instrument, they had to basically physically exchange it. So if somebody from Northern Canada had to travel for hours to the closest financial institution to deposit money, withdraw money, or do their daily banking, that wasn't easy. So with the spread of internet and digital technology, now you can do your banking, you can pay your bills from anywhere around the world. You don't have to go anywhere. So the digital technology is actually helping bridge the distance. And you are not limited by the physical environment you are within, because even everything is becoming more global. So it's not only you have to be using Canadian services, you can be also using services which are offered from the other side of the world.
Over in Toronto, we caught up with iGTB to talk a little bit around some of the work they're doing on distributed ledger in Canada.
Blockchain certainly represents a new area for a lot of our customers and for companies like Intellect. We have been a part of that blockchain world for some time now. Clearly, it's very important for our payment solutions, products like our payment hub, to be able to support a number of technologies in the blockchain space. Ripple comes to mind, Earthport comes to mind, in support of payment rails and payment transactions. And so we're very much on top of that technology. We're investing in that space. In fact, recently we did some work with a major bank here in Canada in support of doing an end-to-end international payment using blockchain and our payment hub to service that transaction. And it was a successful end-to-end transaction. We will be making additional investments in that space in areas like reconciliation, and we'll have additional announcements around that in the coming months. So, there was quite a lot of prep work that did go into ensuring that we would have a successful outcome. The actual transaction itself was very quick, a few seconds. But I think that there was some upfront work that had to be done to ensure that our client here in Canada and then the counterparty in Australia we're all lined up, and all the technologies lined up, and all the processes lined up, and all the people lined up to make sure that the transaction was successful. And so I think that the beauty of it is that it's a very repeatable kind of model. Some upfront work has been done, and we can leverage that for all our customers on a go-forward basis. I think for customers in Canada, typically the model is to do for an international payment is typically to do a wire, and depending on the beneficiary and where they are, that could be a few hours, or it could be a few days. All banks in Canada are looking to improve on those kinds of timelines. I think it's also the cost of the transaction as well. Like, it's the speed of the transaction, it's the cost of the transaction, and it's also about the certainty of the transaction. Right? So typically for certain cross-border payments or international payments, on all three of those fronts, businesses have felt that maybe there could be better solutions. And so I think with new kinds of payment modalities like blockchain, you have room to improve across all three of those areas: cost, time, and the certainty of the transaction. And so clearly this can have a longer term impact. I mean, there's a lot of discussion in the Canadian marketplace today around real-time payments. A number of countries around the world are moving to that kind of, or have moved or are moving to that kind of architecture. And there are very large initiatives here in Canada, led by Payments Canada, a number of banks in that respect, so that when you're a business, you can send payments or receive payments much more quickly, much more cheaply, and with a high level of certainty.
Fintech Finance Canadian correspondent James Ellis headed over to Scotiabank's digital factory.
Well, one of the areas that we're going to focus a lot on is the area of continued research in blockchain. Blockchain is like the Internet of values. It's the new rails that are very analogous to the Internet. The most important thing to understand about blockchain is that it is a decentralized ledger. And many business models, including banking and many others, rely on a centralized ledger or a middleman. So all the hype around blockchain is around the possibility that you can eliminate or lessen the need for this middleman. So a lot of our work here in the factory is focused on exploring these use cases. Right now we have about 12 use cases that we're working on and putting into production, and all of them explore different ways to leverage that very important characteristic of blockchain. It becomes very powerful to us if we can find ways to reduce costs, to improve efficiencies, to reduce the friction, and this all will translate into much better customer experiences in the future.
I wanted to find out a little bit more about what the future holds when it comes to digital transformation and financial inclusion, and how to use technologies to ensure that this underlying infrastructure is robust.
We clearly have a strategy that's based on three pillars. First is the digital space. That's really an area that a lot of our customers are focused around and have been focused around for the last 2 or 3 years. And really it's about a client experience that is simple and intuitive. All our customers want to drive a simple and intuitive experience for their customers as ways to then increase their share of wallet, to upsell and cross-sell new products and solutions to those customers, and to drive better fee income. And so that's a space where we're focused around. We're introducing new solutions around the digital space. At Cybus, we launched a set of solutions around contextual banking, which is the ability for banks to leverage data that they have on their customers and make recommendations around that data. It's about understanding the context with which a customer is looking to execute a transaction and offering simpler, faster, cheaper ways to execute that transaction. And I think those types of products on the digital side are certainly resonating with our customers here. The second big space for us is the payment space from a cash management standpoint. We've been successful with a number of clients with our payments solutions here in Canada. There are a number of initiatives that banks are looking towards from a payment standpoint, and so we want to be a part of that. Payments Canada is looking at making significant advancements in our payments infrastructure, and so there will be clearly opportunities for firms like us in the payment space. And so when we look at the payments market, it's really in two areas where we see opportunity. One is around payments orchestration and finding ways to orchestrate payments more quickly and more cheaply and for a lower TCO. And then it's the payments execution piece, which is the settlements piece. And so that's the other area where we see investment. And so when you look at a bank's current landscape and ecosystem, they've got some new things from a payment standpoint. There's a lot of legacy, that's batch based inside banks. And so when you're trying to move to a real-time architecture, you have to find strategies to address some of that batch-based processing. And so we can really, we play through our orchestration solutions and we play through our execution solutions for our customers. The third big area is the whole liquidity management area. So whether it's a customer that wants to be able to look at their account balances across jurisdictions, whether it's customers that want to then move money across those balances in an automated way through sweeping solutions, or whether they want to do lending across different parts of their businesses. We think that liquidity solutions will become more important for our banks and for banks to offer these types of solutions to their customers. We've got a couple of global banks in Canada that have already rolled out our liquidity solutions, and we think that those types of products will gain more traction in the marketplace because it allows the bank to then position itself as a principal bank to its client, which is really where most of our customers want to be. So those are the three big focus areas for us: digital, payments, and liquidity. The work that we are doing with Payments Canada right now historically has been around offering thoughts and suggestions as part of broader industry forums. We certainly participate in many of their sessions, and as Payments Canada rolls out specific standards around things like ISO 20022, as it looks to renovate specific rails in the marketplace, those are all things that we watch very carefully, because ultimately those things get reflected in our product solutions, and so we participate from that standpoint.
It's easy to say, and I think really hard to do, this notion of future-proofing, but everything that we're doing today does have an eye to what might be. We're all talking about distributed ledger as a technology that can really disrupt, not just in payments, maybe even less so in payments than other areas of financial services, but certainly payments, there's potential. So whatever we design and put into place has to contemplate a distributed ledger type world. We're actually doing our own prototyping right now of distributed ledger. It's pretty likely that this first wave of modernization will not rely heavily on distributed ledger, but the next one could. So to your point, we have to try and do it in a way that anticipates what might come.
I think a couple of ways, in terms of enabling financial inclusions from an accessibility point of view, if you look at the proliferation of mobile, that is always kind of with our customers, and the accessibility of mobile has increased, both in different socioeconomic groups as well as in different geographies. So the explosion of mobility in places like Latin America and the Caribbean has actually really helped reach a broader set of customers, and it also helps customers that may have not otherwise had access to banking. In terms of kind of drawing the line between human and machines or through digital, I actually don't think there's a line. I think there's actually a blurring of activity. So I think for us, we're actually incredibly fortunate that we have both a fairly robust digital experience for our customers that we're continuing to evolve here at the Digital Factory, but we have the strategic advantage of a robust physical network. And really the marrying of those two is really, I think, where the magic happens. If I go in and meet with a customer service representative at a branch and I just want to take out some money or I want to get some foreign exchange, I instinctively pull out my mobile device. And because I want to understand what money I have in what accounts. Well, is that a mobile transaction or is that a physical transaction? I actually don't think the customer sees it that way. Mm-hmm. And if I make an appointment with my personal banker on my mobile phone, is that a mobile transaction or is that a human transaction? Well, I think the two actually go together. And the fact that we have a physical distribution network and really great Scotiabankers, along with digital technology, really I think is an advantage for us.
While speaking with iGTB, I quizzed Syed about how the industry in Canada specifically will evolve over the next few years.
I mean, clearly the financial services sector overall will grow over the next few years. That's the first thing. I think that within the sector, certain players and certain participants will grow faster than others. And you see that kind of borne out in the financials of certain banks, as an example today. I think that there are increasingly new players in the financial service space that are small, that are nimble, that have kind of new business models around how they do things, whether it's the lending space or the card space or the payment space. And so I think that for our customers that are traditionally the banks, we see a lot of openness to embracing kind of the fintech phenomenon and embracing these kinds of technologies. Typically where there would have been some discomfort perhaps around the size of these fintechs and whether they'd stick around and the kind of the risk profile of some of these companies that would have maybe have created caution around partnerships. Today we see increasingly banks embracing kind of the adoption of some of those technologies on a selective basis. And so I think from an overall market standpoint, I see a lot of growth. I see some players growing faster than others, and I see the adoption of technology as being a key driver in a bank strategy to differentiate and to drive more income for itself. There are certain spaces that are very interesting. So the entire mobile payment space is one where you see consortiums being built. A lot of mobile payment solutions are just starting to take off here in Canada. I certainly foresee a lot of adoption and pickup of that kind of technology here. The other big space, I think, where there will be sizable and continued investment is again on the whole digital space. Driven by client experience on the front end, driven by more omni-channel kind of solutions to customers, and then kind of from a back-end standpoint, internal to the bank, digital in terms of better processes, leveraging data in new and better ways to help drive customer acquisition and customer share of wallet. Having architectures and models that lend themselves to lower cost and lower TCO for the bank. And so I think the outlook is very positive for the financial services sector. As I said, they're very well managed. They are very well capitalized. They have the ability to manage and navigate through shocks and risks, which inevitably happen. And so I'm very optimistic about where the services sector is going, financial services sector is going in Canada.
So we have our own vision for the organization that, as I said, we want to do the best for Canada and for Canadians and our economy. And as we started embarking on achieving this vision, we also created a vision for the payments ecosystem more broadly. Because when we talked about modernizing the infrastructure, the payments infrastructure in Canada, we didn't want to marginalize the discussion only to talk about technology systems, because that's not what we do only. We operate systems, we also create a legal framework which makes basically payments safe and sound in Canada. So we took quite a bit of time, we took a step back and we said, you know what, let's talk to the end users, because the lens of end users is really important. Sometimes us as payments professional, we get excited about payments, we get excited about the infrastructure, but most Canadians, they don't enjoy payments, right? You spend your money usually more often than you receive them. So we really wanted to make sure that we understand what Canadians expect and what are the needs they feel are not being served well today. So we took almost a year. We talked to more than 100 organizations, individuals, governments, large organizations, and we asked the question, what do you need from payments in 5-7 years. And we didn't talk about technology or who should do it. Should it be Payments Canada? Should it be the traditional financial institutions where most Canadians hold most of their money? Should it be the new fintech players on the market? We just focused on the business functionality for the end users, and it served us quite well. So we heard 8 needs. That includes the faster, easier, safer cross-border payments, and everybody agreed. So even though you can understand that there are some objectives of different constituencies which may be sometimes conflicting, when we brought it to the end user level and looking at it from the functional perspective, everybody agreed. So we had these 8 needs as a result of our visioning exercise, and now we are using it as an anchor for all the following things we are doing. So as now we've released our roadmap and high-level plan, we always ask ourselves and the incumbents on the market, does this deliver on the needs we heard from the vision? So we have something to link it back, which is very useful.
On the next episode of Fintech Finance, we head over to New York to look at the world of data and data management. For this, we catch up with Brown Brothers Harriman, SmartStream and Credit Suisse.